So I got a new truck. It is a 1996 F-350 7.3 liter diesel flatbed. It has a bit over 280,000 miles on it. I got this truck because, well, for a few reasons. I have another truck. It's a little dirty, but this is my Tacoma that I really like this truck. It's a two-wheel drive. It has a smallest engine. It's a 2003 2.4 liter, and it's two-wheel drive. It's been super reliable. It has like 122,000 miles on it. The cap on the back is convenient for a lot of things, for going to the dump, taking plant waste. We have a lot of trees around here, and there's a lot of stuff to take to the transfer station nearby. And it's generally great for that. It's a little underpowered, and when I fill up the back with branches and leaves and stuff like that, it can be a little sluggish on the hills. And I like the cap because it really holds things in well. So I can just shove as much stuff in there as I want. So that's nice, but it's sometimes I wish that it didn't have the cap on it. For loading, it might make things easier, and unloading also sometimes can be kind of a challenge. This truck doesn't, the tow capacity isn't high. I mean, it's really low. And one time I was out with my partner, and we were driving somewhere and stopped, and then we got stuck, and that really sucked. It wasn't wet or mud or anything like that. We kind of, basically one of the rear wheels was sort of not touching the ground, and so my girlfriend and somebody else, I had them sit on the tailgate, and eventually we were able to get unstuck. But it was a really precarious situation because the front wheels of the truck were at the edge of a drop off, and so we couldn't go forward at all. So I had to go back, and we had no traction. So that was when I kind of realized, like, yeah, when we're out in this area here, we really need four-wheel drive, because the roads are just not they're not paved in a lot of parts. So I wanted to get something that I could tow. I could use for towing. I have a tractor now, and I don't think I'd be able to tow it with my other truck. I mean, it would be really pushing it. I'm going to be renting a mini excavator probably this summer, because I want to do some work on replace the French drain behind our house. So I wanted a truck that had a good towing capacity. I wanted four-wheel drive, and I wanted a flatbed. I had a flatbed before, a 1950 Dodge, and I didn't really get to use the flatbed much on that truck, but it just it seems like it will be convenient for the kind of stuff that I'm hauling around here. For getting firewood, I think it's going to be nice. Going to the dump, I think it'll be convenient for loading with the tractor front loader. And I like how it looks. And that kind of brings me to the, I don't know, the decision-making process on this purchase. So, you know, I had been looking around for a long time at Craigslist and Facebook mostly, Carfax, some other places, and looking at vehicle listings, and I was mostly looking at newer trucks, and this truck is a diesel. This is my first diesel vehicle. My tractor is a diesel also, so I have a little experience working on that, but not a whole lot yet. And so I was looking at Ram 2500s, newer Ram 2500s, Cummins diesels, and those were appealing, but very, very expensive, I would say, you know, for what I was interested in spending. And I also was looking at Toyota Tundras. I really like my Tacoma, and I thought a Tundra could be a good option as well. So I looked at a lot of listings, but I didn't I didn't go to see any other vehicles except this one. This was the only one that I ended up going to see. And really there were a few issues. There weren't a lot of things available in my price range. The Ram, these newer Ram 2500 four-wheel drive diesels were expensive, and I didn't want to sink a lot of money into a vehicle that I'd really only be using on the weekends. I also generally had some concerns about buying another truck, and you know, now I have two trucks. The plan was to get rid of the Tacoma. I'm not sure if I'm going to do that or if I'll end up keeping that and having two trucks. You know, one thing I see a lot on YouTube is people buying all different kinds of vehicles and fixing them up, and you know, people don't really talk about the financial side of it that frequently. There's a lot of I feel like on YouTube there's a lot of focus on acquiring new toys, and I don't have anything wrong with that, but you know, for me, I am concerned about spending too much money on things, and I guess I want to be careful where I am investing my money. I like tools. I like working on vehicles. I like working on my tractor. I like working on my house, and I I figure if you have a job and you make money, you know, there's certain things that you need to spend money on, like your housing and your food, and then beyond that, you can do different things with your money, and you know, that it's up to you how you do that. But I think that it's wise to be careful with the way that you spend your money. And for me, I just didn't want to have $25,000 or $30,000 invested in a vehicle, because it's just a lot of money to have tied up in that. So that was one of the reasons why I ended up with this truck. I also I wanted a diesel truck, and I'm not an environmentalist, but I am concerned about the environment, and I had some sort of internal conflicts, I guess. I guess kind of having not growing up around diesel vehicles and just always thinking, oh, well, diesels are they're dirty and they pollute and they're bad for the environment. And it's kind of weird to have this internal dialogue or conflict when you want something, or you want to do something, but it seems like maybe it's a bad idea. And I don't know. I think that's part of being human, is that kind of conflict. And part of being human is figuring out what you're going to do about those questions. I did some research onto diesels, and was surprised about the mileage, the fuel mileage, versus gas trucks, like, of this same kind of size, and was surprised what I read about that. And I also did some research into the emissions of diesel and gasoline powered vehicles, and hybrid and electric as well. And I didn't really, it's confusing, I think, the information that's available. But I ended up getting a diesel truck, obviously. And I guess my point is, like, sometimes you do what you want to do, and there isn't a logical reason for it. Yeah, I don't know. I'm getting to the age where I just kind of felt like, well, I'd like to have a diesel vehicle at some time in my life and understand how they work better. And I'm intrigued by the simplicity of how they work. So anyway, that was one of the things that I considered when I was looking around. But yeah, I guess eventually what it came down to was the selection that was available in our area. And yeah, I wasn't, I didn't find a lot of things that were appealing. I found one F-350 flatbed that was an IDI and diesel engine, and I can't remember what year that truck was, but that one I really liked. And I kind of went back and forth with this semi-sketchy seeming dealer person who was selling it, and was never really sure what was going on with it, but they just sort of disappeared, and that listing went away. That was a 2-door vehicle. I really wanted 4 doors also. So no, that was another thing that after using the Tacoma for a year and a half or so, I definitely like having the little back seat in there, but having 4 doors, even if they're not, the rear doors aren't 4 doors or aren't full doors. Having 4 doors was that seemed like it would be convenient. So then I found this truck, and I was attracted to it when I saw it, and I was a little nervous that it had that it had so many miles on it. It has some issues, and so I actually bought it about a week and a half ago, and it's been out of shop, and they did some work on the front suspension, the steering, and the oil cooler was leaking. The steering was totally loose, and let's see what else. There was a fuel leak. So there were some things that I just had this shop that they did my pre-purchase inspection and said that it was, overall it was a good vehicle, but it needed some work. So I had them do some mostly the front suspension work. And I guess there was some on the rear suspension too. The bushings were shot. So they did some work that I didn't really want to deal with myself. And I wanted to have the truck so I could start using it right away and have it be safe. But it does have some issues that I'm going to need to deal with, some other issues, and some things that are not really super serious, but some things that I'm going to need to work on. So let me open. Yeah, I can open the doors and look around a little bit and see what the different things are I need to deal with on this truck. Okay, let's start on the inside. This seat, the foam is completely shot. So that needs to be replaced, and I've been looking around I just figured, I'll buy a new foam, bottom cushion for this, and it seems like they're not available. So I'm gonna have to either modify something from another vehicle, or get some foam and cut it and fix that. But the seat is so uncomfortable. Also, I guess there's some kind of airbag inside the back of the seat in the lumbar support area, and that there's no support there. There's supposed to be a plastic piece right here that has this little switch on it, and the passenger seat has that. The switch pumps up the airbag, I guess, that's inside of here. So that switch is gone. I'm not sure what happened there. So that I need to do right away, because it's just so uncomfortable to drive this thing for like any distance basically. The center console is gone. That's not a big deal. Well, maybe I'll put in some kind of locking console thing. I saw some pretty cool custom designs on the internet, so that could be a fun project. Stereo is terrible, so that needs to be replaced. In addition to replacing the stereo, I'd like to put a ham radio in here. I think that would be pretty sweet. This, if you're watching this, maybe you already know a lot about these trucks, but if you don't, it has two fuel tanks, and there's a switch here that switches between them, and apparently the rear fuel tank is not working. The guys at the shop thought that it had something to do with either the switch or the valve. There's a valve, I guess, that controls where the fuel is being drawn from. So got to figure that out. Especially this door panel, it's really loose and floppy. I'm not sure if I can, what I can do. Yeah, it's basically, it's just not even attached here, so I don't know how I can deal with that, but gotta look at that. The key, I can unlock the door with the key, obviously, but I can't lock the door with the key. It doesn't seem to be normal. I mean, it doesn't seem like that should be how it works, so got to figure that out. It has power locks all around, but this side, this door doesn't unlock with the power locks. Not sure how visible this will be, but there's a diagnostics port there. I'm not sure if that's OBD2 or I guess the original OBD, but I want to know if I can plug in a little diagnostic doodad in there. So I'm going to check that out. Something that you can't tell from the camera, it smells in here. It's like somebody a long time ago was smoking, so I'm gonna do some detailing. Yeah, it just doesn't stay. It's really stale smelling. Okay, let's look at the flatbed. This flatbed was not made for this vehicle, so you can see there, there's this cutout above the tire that's not in the right place. That doesn't bother me that much, but there are some things that are not good. The fuel filler is behind this hole, so that needs to be like done properly. There's another, for the second gas tank, this fuel filler is just kind of held by a little wire right there, so that's pretty stupid. So that needs to be fixed. This truck has airbags, but they're not connected to anything, so I really don't know anything about airbags, so I got to figure that out and get some hoses on here so that I can inflate those. The owner of the garage was pretty excited that they were here already, so that's cool, but yeah, I just got to get that system going. And for the airbags, I think I might want to. I was looking at some onboard air compressor systems, and that was the guy at the garage was, I think, talking about something like that would be cool. So I might put on system like that, and I could use it for inflating the tires if I need to, and then also doing these airbags. There's no spare tire. The flatbed apparently used to have a lumber rack that went up in the back here. They cut off, and the part that's behind the cab, it's just way too high. So I want to cut that down and make it so that it's normal height. I mean, this truck is already plenty high, and I don't need it to be any taller. These lights are not connected to anything. It has a fifth wheel hitch in here. This hole is just, it's not a square. So that's totally stupid. And there's no lid for it either. So I'm gonna do something about that and make up a lid. And yeah, I mean, it's just like, somebody figured out a way to do something, but it's just not the way that I would do it. These spaces here, if I fill this up with leaves and branches and whatever, this is just open, so I don't know if I'm gonna put some like close that off somehow so that this is like solid. The bumper is just a regular standard bumper, so it looks kind of weird. I'd like to take that off, and I'm not sure what I'll do, but something different than that. It just seems kind of ridiculous. It is nice to be able to step on here to get up into the back, but I think that would be okay to step on probably. It has these LEDs, which are nice, but when the hazards are on, these do not light up. I'd like to mount some toolboxes underneath here for storage of straps and chains, that kind of stuff. And I'm going to make some wood sides to go in here. You know, it's nice it has these stake pockets on it. I'm going to need to weld on some stake pockets on the back. You know, I think this bed, I'm guessing that there were toolboxes along here on the sides before, and then maybe a tailgate, a hinged tailgate. I think these might be the remains of the hinges. So I'm going to put a couple of stake pockets back here to hold the back wooden panel. One of the things I was worried about looking at these really large trucks was how convenient it would be. And you know, with my original idea of getting rid of my Tacoma, if this was going to be my main sort of weekend driving around vehicle, how it would be for parking. And yeah, so yesterday we went out and did some errands, and the Tacoma, I mean, it's been great. It's basically the size of a car, and so I've never had a problem parking in that truck. Yesterday we drove around and went to hardware store and a few other stores, and we didn't have any problems parking during that part of the day. After we did our errands, we stopped by this local cider brewery, I'm not sure what you call it, kind of place, and to have a drink. And we parked in their parking lot, and the place was pretty empty when we got there. Well, more and more people were showing up, and the parking lot was getting more full, and there were 2 rows of parking, and we didn't realize that we didn't know that there was we just thought there was 1 row of parking. Well, then there's a parking, the space, where you drive in, and then parking on the other side. Well, there weren't any cars there when we got there, and when we went to leave, it was a little challenging to get out. One thing that I didn't think about with a truck of this size is the turning radius. It's very large, and we had to go back and forth a lot before we were able to get out. Luckily, we had enough space on either side of us that we were able to do that. But if we were in a tight space, it could have been a big problem trying to back out of the space. So something that we'll pay attention to in the future. I mean, I think we were already conscious of it when we were parking, but I think we'll have a better idea as we use the truck more, how much of a pain that's going to be, or if it's really just not a big deal if you pay attention to where you're parking. So another thing to think about. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to messing around with this truck. I mean, I think it's going to be great for some of the projects I'm going to be working on over the summer this year. And yeah, especially taking stuff to the dump and getting building materials and that kind of thing. I mean, I think it's going to be great. It, you know, I drove it a bit in the last couple of days, and it did some, miles on the highway, and it worked. It worked great on the highway, but I felt like when I got onto our dirt road, I could really see why a vehicle like this would be useful. Driving up to our house here in my girlfriend's Prius or in the two-wheel drive Tacoma, it's, they work fine, but they always have this kind of feeling of it's like you're sort of pushing the limits of the vehicle. And then when I turned off of the pavement onto the dirt road with this truck, it was just, it felt so confident, and like it was made for that kind of driving on that kind of surface. I wasn't driving in four-wheel drive or anything, and there, it's dry around here now, and the road isn't even that rough, but it just, I'm not sure if it's the large tires or what. If the truck feels strong and confident on the road here, so I think it's going to be great, and I'm thankful to be able to just have a fun project to work on, and get to play around with my tools, and yeah.